Hello everybody, my name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we are going live to teach you how to paint some really super adorable lovebirds and bird houses. So let me first show you the model and then we'll talk about the kit that we have. Alright, so here is the beautiful model. Yay! So we've done this a lot with classes here in the studio. Alright, and now we ship all the stuff to you and you do it with me at home. Okay, so let me show you what we've got. So I have these awesome little templates. Yay! I see people and hearts. That's awesome. Alright, so I've got these cute little homes here where all my little birds can live. And then I also have my little leopard. So what I do here is I position it on one side and then I just flip it to the other side. And there's just a little bit of freehanding on this. So I will come in, I always recommend that y'all start with a pencil first since you're beginners, and that's okay. You want to be sure to feel very comfortable with the process. So work it out with a pencil first. And then I do think that, thank you so much, that coming in with a Sharpie later, it just really helps keep all that work that you did firmly in place and it will bleed through the paint a little bit. So I actually like that effect. So it helps me relax a little bit with the process. All right, so I do a little bit of a branch that comes through here, very simple. Here's what's awesome about that. Branches in real life are very kind of, they've got all kinds of knots and imperfection. And so you can absolutely have a shaky hand and just make that line go kind of, you want it to where they can sit on it. So you want to position it right there. Pay attention to that. So they've got a nice comfortable place to sit. And then you just extend that all the way down. And then at the very end here, you kind of go off, almost like making little V's at the very end on each side. So I'll do that here and here. Then I also did a few little roses. So essentially with the roses, most of the technique comes in with the painting process. So honestly, to begin with, you can actually just do a lumpy circle. Just kind of wave your hand a little bit. You want to actually have some imperfection around that circle. Create your circles first. You can make them really tiny. I do some extra detail in here just so that you get a reference for this being a rose, but you honestly don't even need to do that at the beginning. You can just make little lumpy circles. And then your little leaves, it feels like you make a parentheses and another parentheses, or it feels a lot like making the letter V. So let me turn it this way and make sure you can see this. But see, this is just like making a V shape, just like that. So if you have to turn your canvas to get into a comfortable mode of doing something that's very familiar, you can certainly do that. I think that helps a lot. So little leaves feels a lot like just making the letter V. So again, if you have to rotate your canvas to do that, feel free to do that. So I've created little tiny roses, little leaves, my branch. I've traced around our cute little birdhouses, and we're all set. All right, so that's our trace. So I've got that all ready to go. And I did take a picture of this before I started. Not sure if I posted yet, but I absolutely will post it on the video so that you can always reference and know where you can start and have that as a guide. So it really helps. All right, then I take my Sharpie. Always have one of those nearby. Then let's talk about the kit that we've got. We've got our tools here. I just went and washed mine off, but we've got our mama brush. And then we have little Buddy. And then we have little Bit. All right, so those are our brushes. And then I always make sure that I've got some water nearby. Got my paint ready to go. Now the paint comes to you in a beautiful little kit like this. And then I've got like a paper towel or a rag or something like that nearby to help wipe off. All right, wear something comfortable, all that good stuff. Okay, so to get started, I'm actually going to sweep through the entire piece with lots of beautiful light, like a turquoise, almost to maybe like a seafoam kind of a color, real light, like a minty color. So I'm going to take a pretty big brush here in your kit. It would be your mama brush. And if you have bought larger kits from us, then you also have a Big Daddy, which is also an option to use as well. So I'm going to take about equal parts to mix this up, a dollop of the blue, a dollop of the white, and then a dollop of the green. I'm going to mix all those together, and this will give me a really pretty turquoise color. All right, beautiful turquoise. And then I want to lighten this up, keep it much lighter than what I have here, so I'm going to go ahead and add in a lot more white. I can also add a lot of white as I go and do that mixing actually on the canvas. So I'm going to sweep this across. Now this is one of the reasons why I am such a huge fan of the Sharpie sometimes. Now, if you do not have a Sharpie, there are certainly options to make this very easy on yourself. One of those is, you don't have any time constraints. You're not on camera going live. So what you can do, you can sweep all of this paint all the way across. It's a very relaxing, therapeutic process. And then once you're done, you want to let that all set up and dry completely. Then you can come back in with all the templates and then just lay those on over the top and trace around those. That's also another option, another really easy way to do that. Since I have to work pretty quickly, I like to go ahead and have all of that in place, since we can't all just sit around and wait for my paint to dry. So this is kind of a nice way for me to move quickly, and the Sharpie helps me kind of cheat through that. All right, so I'm going to sweep all this back and forth. And as I do this, I want to make sure that my lines are very fluid and smooth. So I will actually take the brush and I'll go all the way across, and I won't actually lift off until I'm actually off the canvas. So that keeps it from being too choppy, and you don't see a lot of brush strokes happening. So that's a nice fun way to do it. And then also, if you want some nice highlights here in the background, you can dip into some pure white and just kind of lightly drag that through. I'll use a really light hand. Really gentle hand allows a lot more of that white to just still kind of rest on the surface and not get completely blended into the rest of the paint. So it almost looks a little bit more like a light little cloud kind of running through the sky. All right, so I will continue to just push this all the way back and forth. Now this is one way to apply the paint. For beginners, I'm also going to teach you another way in case you might like another way to do this. Still very therapeutic, but a little bit different, a little bit more expressive. So I'm going to do this up here. When I get to this big area here, I'll go ahead and work in the different way to show you how to do this. But for right now, this is also very relaxing, so you just push this back and forth. And then since you are working at home, you can always position this on a flat surface as well, and you can add a little bit of water to it so that it helps the paint be much more fluid and extend all the way across the surface here. Now, I have to be a lot more cautious when the canvas is in a vertical position like this. I can't have really any excess water in my brush, or it can create little water runs as soon as I apply some pressure. So I make sure that my brush is just moist and doesn't have too much excess water in there. But having just a tiny amount of water can help. Again, just make sure your canvas is completely flat. Let me give you a visual on that. Just, on your kitchen table, just make sure it's completely flat, just like that. And then you should have the freedom to just lightly add in some water if you want to. And again, it really helps extend the paint a little bit. All right, just keeping these motions very fluid and smooth and go all the way across. All right, so we're getting into this little section here where I told you I could teach you another way to do this. So what I'll do is load up my brush with a little bit more paint. I keep all these separately here too to kind of play with and alternate with, but there's a cross stroke that you can do too. And this is very fun for beginners. It gets really great results. So what you do is you just kind of crisscross your brush back and forth. It looks like you make little tiny X's back and forth. And then what else is fun is just to play with different colors now. So I can add a little bit of white. Push that back and forth. maybe a little bit of blue too, so I'll just barely kind of touch into that blue, and I'll push that back and forth. So that creates a nice dramatic effect. And if you want, you could even do a little bit of green in there too. So let's try that. Push that back and forth. Keep your hand very light. That's also a key part of this process. Very light pressure. We're just barely pushing over the surface. And holding that brush more just exactly parallel to the canvas also helps alleviate any pressure. It gives you a really nice light hand. So that's another option. You can see how that looks very different, much more textural. So that's certainly another option. All right, so there is another way. I am going to go ahead and smooth it out though. We've got most of our canvas done with this other style. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with that process and just work this back and forth. Don't forget a little bit of white every now and again. Creates really nice little highlights. All right, we're almost done with our background. Nice firm pressure. Just push that back and forth. All right, beautiful. So we have this gorgeous background now. That was very fun and easy to do. I always try to optimize every opportunity I can to create relaxing procedures throughout this, because more than anything, I think it's important to relax through the process. Not just create beautiful artwork, although that's important. We definitely want to have a sense of accomplishment when we're done and create something beautiful that makes us feel good. But through that process, what's most important is that you feel really good while you do it. And I always tell that to people, even if maybe they're not completely happy and they're still learning, when they're done, maybe they're not completely happy with what they came up with. What you need to ask yourself is, did I have a good time? Yes, I did. So it's really important to have the experience. All right, so here we go. We've got our background done. Now what we're going to do is the next shade. So I always work, I try to keep the very darkest colors till the very last. So I have a lot of black work that comes in. What I notice is a lot of beginners will try to do a lot of black in the very beginning. That is something I really want to give you some good advice. Caution, caution. Do not do black first. Keep that to the very end. Hello, Megan. Hello, Dana. So keep your black to the very end, because it can definitely muddy up a lot of your bright, vibrant colors that you need to place in first. So try to always do your lighter colors first and save the black till the very last. So our next thing to do will be, I'm going to do the birds next, because here's my strategy. I could push in roses, but my paint is still setting up and drying, and I want to make sure that those colors are very bright and vibrant over the top. So they're colors like pinks and whites. And hi, Donna. And so right now the blue is still setting up, and that might muddy those colors a little bit, so I'm going to just wait on that a little bit. But if I push in white over my birds right now, that will not be a problem, because even if we do pick up a little bit of blue, it will still be really gorgeous. All right, so I have some white already loaded up on my plate. I want just a hint of gray happening here. So I'm going to get my black, and I'll do just a teeny amount here. All right, this one is brand new. Look how lovely that is. They seal it all up so it can ship just fine. It might squirt all over me, but now that I'm removing this, I made it. I did a good job. Okay, so here we go. I've got my black paint. I'm going to push just a little tiny amount of that off to the side. All right, so now I need to be very sparing with the black. Just a little bit goes a long way. Hello, Shannon. Thank you. Can you see it? It's like I painted up. Here, I'll bring it closer to the... See how you can see the cuteness? All right, so we're going to put in cute little birdhouses. All right, so here we go. We're going to make our birds first. I'm going to take my little bit brush. This is the smallest brush that we've got here in our kit. I'm going to just barely touch into that black, and then I will push this into a lot of white. Now in the very beginning, see, that looks very dark. I don't want my birds to be that dark. I want them to be like a very light gray. And maybe it's as if they almost appear white, and then the very light gray just creates a little bit of a shadow in the background. All right, so here we go. Much lighter, a lot more white. A lot more white, even more. Just keep playing with that until you get it to your desired shade here. But I just want it to be a super, super light, like a heather gray. All right, so I've got my little bit brush, and I want to go ahead and place this into the shape. And see, this is already setting up very nicely. I'll work this into that shape. Now, what's nice about my little bit brush is it does have a nice fine point like a liner. My mommy's on here. Hi, Mom. So I can hold this brush like a pencil. I love you too, Mom. It's your granddaughter's birthday today. Did you notice that? She turns 21, so we can all go have a glass of wine together. Right now, she's adulting. Yay! She is a nanny today. I don't know if she'll pop on here or not, but she's a nanny. She takes care of a precious little girl named Olivia. So what's funny is I think she has so much work to do today that I don't even think, I know, I don't even think she's going to go get something to drink on her birthday, which is kind of ironic, but that seems to happen to a lot of us. Yeah, she's 21. I know. That makes me feel old. Just think how it makes you feel. Oh no, I did not say that. All right, we have a really nice fine point here down at the bottom, so I'm going to twirl the end of the brush into a nice fine point, and that'll help me get to a really tiny little point there on the end. Making this little tail here on the end of the bird kind of looks like you make the letter V. All right, and then this is a bigger curve in here, so I can relax a little bit with my process and just kind of smooth the brush out. I know. All right, these are very cute, healthy little birds. Little lovebirds. It was so funny. Lately, I'm in the backyard and I'll see birds and I'll say, oh my gosh, it's a cardinal, or oh my gosh, fireflies, and Joe goes, okay, Mary, calm down. It's like we've all seen a cardinal and a firefly before, like this. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm turning into my mother. All right, so we have filled in our beautiful light heather gray for our cute little lovebirds. There they are. And I'm looking at the rest of my background. It looks almost completely dry, so that's good news. So now we can go ahead and start to work in our cute little roses, because they're going to be light, and we wanted to make sure that they did not blend into that really pretty turquoise, because those are not colors that play well together. They become like a dirty gray mauve, which is not attractive. All right. So I've got my mama brush, and I want some really pretty bright colors. So I'm going to play and have some fun here. I have some primary magenta. No, I took it as a compliment. that I'm becoming more and more like my mother. All right, and then let's do some cadmium red. And let's see, maybe some, ooh, let's do some cadmium orange, because this will make, when it's mixed, it will make like a coral color, so it's going to be really pretty. And I'll give you a little peek here in a second. I also want to put some white on here. Okay. Let me show you what I've got. So those are my colors so far. All right, so this is the primary magenta. This is our cadmium orange, and this is our cadmium red. All right, so here we go. I want some white in with that magenta. So we're going to mix that together. See how pretty that is? That's really nice. All right, really beautiful light pink color. And I'll smooth this into those little shapes. And as I said in the beginning of the class, these little roses really actually just look like little lumpy circles in the beginning. So there's really no need to go to a lot of trouble on any pattern or detail in the beginning, because you're just going to cover it all up anyway. All right, so I'm going to lay down this really pretty little foundation. And do I have, yep, I got one more. Alright. And coming back over it with more of a flat side of the brush, that just gives me a nice soft layer of additional color over the surface. Keeps any of those transparencies from happening. Alright, so we've got a good foundation there. Now we're going to come in with our first layer of pattern. So I'm going to take my Mamba brush, put it into the water. Another note is that when you're working with acrylic paint, it does set up and dry really quickly, so you do need to make sure and put all your brushes in water when you're not using them, or clean them off quickly, because they will set up and dry and it can ruin your brushes. That is a brand new brush. I need something a little more loved here. Let's see. Ha. This brush has been loved more, so it's more flexible and like that. Okay. So I need to take my little bit brush, let's do a quick little twist here into the white paint. That will load it up, but it also gives me a nice fine point. All right, so now what I'll do is I'll do these little half circles, and I put them on in a circular pattern around the rose, and I just keep working those in towards the center. Does anybody hear my music going on in the background? It's a Caribbean sound. Y'all didn't know we had the Caribbean out here in Guthrie. And they're playing some of the steel drum right now. It's really nice. All right, so little half circles. And you can be pretty loose with this in the beginning. You actually don't want to make them too precise. I add a little bit of a wiggle to my hand as I do it, and I also make sure my pressure is very light. And the easiest way to make your pressure light is to hold that brush over to the side parallel to the canvas. So that really helps a lot. So circular patterns, side of the brush. Work that all the way around. Okay, I'm kind of running out of white. Any more white? So light hand. You really have to concentrate. I've noticed that a lot of beginners really have to focus and make sure that they get that brush over to the side. The natural tendency is to, your hand's going to go into a natural, like how you hold a pencil, because that's what you do all the time. So you think you're holding it on the side, but you're digging into the paint. Really, that handle's coming right towards you. So watch that. Make sure that handle is over to the side. Really light strokes, just right over the top. Just, I think, one more to go. So this is so light and subtle, probably hard to see this. Let me bring it a little bit closer, give you some of that detail. So again, almost wiggly little strokes, half circles, and then where we really start to see the patterns when we start to bring in those darker colors into the mix. So I'm still going to use my little bit brush here. But this time I'll work in with the darkest color next, so I will come in with my primary magenta. Little spot right in the center. See how pretty that is? And then just light little half circles again. I'm much more minimal with these strokes. Because it's so dark, I don't need that many. I just need a few. So I'm way more liberal with the white. There's a lot more white layering that happens, and then when I come in with this primary magenta, then I'm much more sparing with how much I put on here. Alright, just a little circle here. Lightly kind of just barely touch on the side of the brush, kind of work that around in that circular pattern. Another little spot. I always do my center spot right there in the middle. That's my start. Just kind of lightly position the other dark shades all the way around there, just a few. See, now they're really starting to pop like roses. The more you do, you can kind of see it come out. And again, don't try to be too perfect. Give your hand a little wiggle. Little half circles. Little spot, little half circles. Now if you want to, you can come in with some of these warmer tones. So I want to give my brush a quick little wipe here off to the side. And then I'll go ahead and push into a little bit of that orange. And now this will be just a few little spots here and there. So this is very pretty bright orange. And then I just want to barely come in. So even with it just being just a little bit nearby those other colors, it almost gives it just a little bit of that coral feeling. And if it gets to be too much, like if there's one, like for example, I'm not too happy with so much orange, so then I'll push back in a little bit more white. Kind of feather it back out a little bit. You can always pull back in more white, feather it out a bit. So it's still very easy to manipulate at this stage. And honestly, even if it sets up and dries, you can always come back in and just redo the entire surface too. So you can just kind of keep playing with it and learn through the experience. A lot of forgiveness with it. All right, beautiful little roses. Yay! Okay, so now, let's see here. I need to do my little, fronts of the home, their little homes. Their homes need to be painted. Okay, so I need my little buddy brush here, and then just some white paint. All right, so we got a lot of white paint nearby. And I might even, you know what, I think I want my mama. I might need little buddy here in a minute, but. Hi Rhonda, thank you. You're so sweet. All right, so I've got my mama brush. I'm going to come in with some white paint to begin with here. And that gets a little bit tiny, but I'll just take it around that little curve. Now the reason why I'm doing little white homes is because I want some pattern over the top. But you can certainly brighten this up and do really pretty colors on your little birdhouses too. So if you're really bright and colorful and you want to do maybe some bright primary yellow or something like that, you certainly can. So at first, I need to kind of hold the brush more over to the edge side to get into those smaller areas, or you can use your little buddy to get into tiny areas, but then I will need to feather it out with the bigger brush to get that really good coverage over this top surface area to smooth it out. And that's pretty straightforward, so I won't worry about that one. All right, so back to Mama here, and I'll just go ahead and fill all this in. All right, sweet little house. And then this one. So we've got some long lines to do, so I'm going to take my Mama brush, line edge, go ahead and make the lines all the way around. And then I'll fill all this in. All right, then I'll kind of feather this out a little bit too. Now I'm getting really good coverage there, so if I do cover up my little hole completely to where I can't see it, just remember that we still have our templates nearby, and we can always come back in, and we can, after it sets up and dries a little bit, we can always come back in and retrace as needed too. So that's always an option. So don't ever get worried that you're losing a shape. Just let it dry and then come back in with it to help firm up those lines. Okay, so now, all right, let's do some pattern, fun pattern. Actually, I'm thinking if I want to go ahead and do my black now. We've got a lot of the light. You know what, I'm gonna do leaves. Leaves, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay. All right, so I need a small, here we go, a little bit. And I'm going to mix up some of this really pretty cadmium green, and then also I want it to be really contrasting over the surface, so I'm going to go ahead and use some of the bright yellow green. All right, so bright yellow green and some white. And a little bit of that cadmium green. We're going to mix all this together. So this will be very bright and it will show up really nicely over the surface. All right, so I've been mixing and my brush is very full, so I need to do a little twist into the paint so that it thins out into a nice fine point so that I can do detail work. Hi, Sean. All right, so here we go. Nice fine point. And then I'll go ahead and work in these little leaves here. So we talked about the shape of a leaf earlier. But the shape of the leaf can feel like doing the letter V, like that. So the letter V, and then of course you just fill that in, or it feels like making a parentheses, another parentheses, and then fill that in. So that's a really simple way to do your fun little leaves over the top. And remember too that if you're doing, for example, if you're doing the letter V shape, if you have to keep rotating your canvas to get into that position to make the letter V so that that's familiar to you, you can certainly do that. So whatever you have to do to make it a little bit easier. And then I want to get good coverage over the surface of it when I'm filling in. So I'll remember to be very light-handed by holding that brush over to the side. I'll push in a few more of these. These are really fun. You can also lighten these up even more by putting in a lot of this primary yellow in there too, which is nice. That's another option. I picked up a little bit of that pink, so I went ahead and wiped off my brush so that I wouldn't drag that back into the color. Keeps that green really vibrant. All right. Doing good. All right, sweet. Okay, so let's see. I think it's time to do some black. I still have color and details to put in over the tops of the white house, the little white houses, but I want more setup and dry time on that, so I'm going to go ahead and start to position in black in all the rest of the areas here. So, let's see, let me get some, let me make sure I've got plenty. All right, got my black. Now I'll work on long lines first. So I've got my mama brush, and I'll go ahead and push into the black paint just like that, back and forth. Now, if you need to add some water to your black to make it more fluid and to make a nice fluid line that's not spotty at all, just make sure and turn your canvas. If you are working on an easel, make sure you place it flat so that you can have the freedom to potentially add just a tiny amount of water to your black. So that can be very helpful to extend the black out and make it very smooth. So that's another little hint there, but you don't want to add water to it in a vertical position or it can create a water run. And those are no fun because they actually erase through paint. So that's not good. So I'm trying to do as many long lines as I can. Just makes it a lot easier on me. And see, I cut into that little rose. That's okay, I'll touch that up later. Still doing long lines down here. So you've got curves happening, so I definitely can't use Mama for that. Too big. But as much as I can, I'll work in all these long lines here. We're getting there, very close. I also have the little strings that I can work down. These hold the birdhouses at. Got a nice thin line, so I'll go ahead and work that in here. I have my Sharpie as a reference, so I'll just go ahead and drag that all the way down. And there's another one. Okay. All right, now I have to go to a much smaller brush. Taking Mama as far as she can go. Now we've got to get small. So we'll be kind of going back and forth between Little Bit and then also Little Buddy. So Little Buddy, let's give you a visual on that. So these two guys right here. All right, so here we go. Let's do Little Buddy first. All right. Little Buddy, he's like a little flat. Let's push into the black paint. So I can do this little curve here. There's the little tip top of the house. Anybody have real birdhouses on their property? I don't. Except for these. Makes me sad that I don't. I was just thinking that. Wow. Well, actually, I take that back. Our building is a house to many birds. That's not a good thing either. But they have all found a way to get into little corners. All right, we got little flat lines here. And then I'll just kind of dip more into the paint fully here to go ahead and get this covered up. Be a little bit careful around this little rose right there. And then I've got little tiny curves, so I'll go ahead and fill those in. It's like a little half circle stroke. So I just kind of push, and as I push, it makes those bristles kind of spread out and makes those little half circles. All right, and I've got this little flat here. And then we'll come from this side and then just fill in. And then we've got our little hole right in the center. We want to make sure and remember that. They have to have a way to get in. Yeah, we saw a little hummingbird come into our backyard and we thought, man, it'd be really fun to have a hummingbird feeder. So we'll have to work on that. Because they are very pretty to watch. All right, we have a tiny little area in here. We don't want to forget that, or else they'll look like they're kind of floating. Let me just extend that here on the other side. Because this branch just goes all the way across. And black covers really well, so it's really easy just to hold it more like a pencil to do these tinier little moves in here. And then the top section. We'll tip top of the house. Around that rose. All right, then we've got that curve again. It's coming up. So I'll take my brush, hold it like a pencil, and then push. And then as I do, it will rotate those bristles out like a circular fan. Now another way to do that too, if that kind of freaks you out, let's try a bit more. This is a little bit more of a cautious way, slow and steady. So a little bit, rotate into the paint. See, nice fine point. And you want to kind of brace your hand, support it, and then you can just do little tiny curves that way too. And you can work out the borders. And then for some, that might give you a little bit more confidence before you proceed to the next step. And then you can go ahead and fill that in. All right, so I'm back to my little buddy brush. And I want to go ahead and just fill all this in. All right, and then now you turn that brush a little bit more over to the side to get better positioning, kind of feather out that stroke a little bit. Seeing a little bit of the transparency happening, so I want to just lightly take my brush over the top. All right, so and then we've got a line from there to there, and then one here. Here. All right, we got a little circle we need to work in here too. So I'll push to both sides. So here's something you can do too with this. As you're doing the circle, it's that same thing where you push right in the center, and then as you push to one side, it kind of makes like the letter C. But it also makes the bristles flare out. And so that's how I did that side. So it makes those bristles flare out for that half circle. And then I'll come back in the center, push to the other side. And then when you rotate back to the center, well then, ta-da, you have a circle. Now one other way to do that too is a little bit and just circle it, and then fill in more gently on the inside. And even another way is to let it completely set up and dry and Sharpie in first. That will really give you a nice firm line to work into. And I know people who have shaky hands, they really prefer that technique as well. All right, I've got a nice little vertical line here. Make sure I get that, and then on this side. And then I'll just smooth this out. I've got roof line to do now. Gotta fill that in. Sometimes I miss spots just because I've got a real bright light. So y'all can see me better, but then I can't see. So isn't that wonderful? I can see okay. Ish. Don't worry, it gets worse every day. Oh my gosh. Especially if I get the wrong pair of reading glasses. That's always fun. I'm up to a 2.25 now. So, rapid descent. So just hold your arms up and go, whee! Just might as well. Whee, I can't see. All right, real tiny little rotation there. So here we go. Little bit brush. Got a little circle up here. I need to work this in. Outline around that. It's almost looking like a little peace sign in there. How fun. Oh, and I forgot to do, well, let's see. I shall let that one be. Okay. No, I didn't forget. Okay, so I got it. Now I need to do the little circle here. This is more of like an oval. All right, so I've got my little bit brush again. And I'm going to start up here at the top. We'll do one side. Kind of looks like the letter C. Do the same thing here on the other side. See how I'm bracing my stroke there with my pinky on the canvas. I'll rest the weight of my hand on my pinky. That helps stabilize my hand. And then I can just fill that in. All right, I've got some finer details to do around these cute little birdies, so I want my little bit brush again. Do a little twist. And do a nice little outline around the edge. Get that out to a nice fine point. I'm trying to put my pinky somewhere, but I'm about to go into wet paint, so that's what I'm... Hashtag the struggle's real. Okay, there we go. I just don't want to goober it up. I want to stabilize, but not put my finger in the wrong place and mess up work I've already done. So you have to kind of be careful with that. So I'm twisting this back in here again, reloading, nice fine point again. So this is also another area where you might prefer a Sharpie. So Sharpies are awesome. And I don't care what the snobs say, the art snobs. Yeah, I like Sharpies. I'm all about the experience. Make it easy, make it fun, give yourself a sense of accomplishment, and let yourself relax. That's what I think. And then you can use a real snooty little art term called mixed media, and then that allows you to use a Sharpie. You can do it with intention. You just tell people it's just a mixed media project. Yeah. All right, I'm going to finish out this little line. Sometimes it helps to turn the canvas a different direction. Make sure y'all can still see. Good deal. Let's scoop that down. All right. Yay! Okay, so I'm trying to figure out some different things I need to do. I want to do some cute little hearts, some patterns, some polka dots. So we've got some fun stuff that we can do. All right. First thing, let's do some hearts. So I want my little bit brush again. And I've still got some of that really pretty cadmium red earlier. And some of that primary magenta. So I'm going to push those two together. Do a nice little twist after the blend so that I can get back to a nice fine point. So now my brush is fully loaded with color, but it's also got a nice fine point so I can do these tiny little lines in here. So I want one little tiny heart right here. So I go up for a little hill, come down to a point, and then go up for another little hill and come back down to a point. And if yours does become a little bit asymmetrical, I actually adore little asymmetrical hearts. I think they're more precious that way. So do not think that it has to be perfect. I think imperfection is awesome. All right, so we'll do one little heart there. And let's just do one. Yeah, okay. So, because we're going to do some different pattern work up top. All right, now let's do a fun polka dot. So I want big brush handle. So here we go, big brush handle. And then I want a fun color to dip into. So I'm going to do like a really pretty light mint green here. So I want to make sure and mix up some of this white and that bright, this was the bright yellow green. So I added a lot more white to it. I want it to be really light. Make sure I've got a nice thick layer of that in or on top of the plate here. That way you can dip your brush into it. All right, so you don't want it too thin on the plate or you won't be able to dip into it. So I've got that end of the brush. This is the brush handle. And I will go ahead and dip that into the paint. See how it's on the surface? Then I will go ahead and press straight forward. And it's so light, you can't see it. Okay, let me do this again. I'm gonna make this a little darker so you can see this. Okay, we're gonna add a little bit more green. Because I'm just thinking, oh wow, you're never gonna see that. So it's a little bit of green to this. It's still going to be a really pretty light green, but it will definitely have contrast now. Let's move in. Let's just put a whole bunch of that together. All right, beautiful, much better. All right, this is going to be much easier to see. All right, so brush handle, push into that. We're going to be able to see that. All right, now press straight forward. Yes, okay, beautiful little dot. And I'll sprinkle these all over the surface area of my little birdhouse. So this is so fun and easy because it always works out. Even if you don't have good compression on the first one. Well, thank you, Cindy. Even if you don't have good, if it doesn't, you know, for example, you press down and then you pull away and maybe it dry brushes on you and you don't feel like you see the full effect, you can always just push right into it, just push right back over the top and you'll get a nice good dot again. So it's a really fun little trick. And you can do smaller dots too. Let's do a few of those. So this is a much smaller brush and we'll dip into that. See that tiny little dot? So you can kind of mix it up if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and definitely mix it up so you can see what a smaller dot will look like. Sprinkle those all around. That's very fun. All right, now let me bring the canvas a little bit closer to you. See that? Fun polka dot. You're so funny. Thank you. Yes. My husband thinks I'm hilarious. He has to, or he'll go crazy. Let's see. Oh, I know, I've got more white dots I need to do. All right, so this is, you're really gonna see it on this one. All right, so Big Daddy again. All right, and then let's do white paint. So we're gonna press down into the white paint. Ta-da! And then we've got little fun, oh, I know. I want to do it right here. This is going to be fun. So every time there's that little scallop, then I'll position these in. So that makes for a really fun pattern. Yay! Okay, that's awesome. And then you can do some more, like right up there at the tip top. And And then maybe one down here. And here. And then let's do some more of these up here too. Yeah. And we'll have these. Sometimes I just make a decision right in the moment. I go, okay, yeah, that sounds good. All right, so let's see. I think I'm good on dots. Yay! Okay, so we've got a lot of dots. Now let's also do a little stripe. Okay, so I want my stripes to happen here. That's where I'll have a different pattern happening. So I've got my little buddy and some black paint. All right, and then I just will take this all the way across. Kind of elongate that one little bird hole so it doesn't look strange. Take this one all the way across. And we'll just keep going. Alright, so fun little stripe. Now I'm going to go back over my oval here, because I don't want those stripes showing up in the pattern. I don't want the brush strokes showing up. So I smooth that back out with that circle. Alright, so we have a fun stripe pattern. We've got a heart. We've got polka dots. Oh, we can also do a little bit of some shiplap. You can't not do shiplap. That would be a sacrilege. I mean, what would Chip and Joanna Gaines think right now? They would disapprove. So, one of our birdhouses has to have shiplap. All right, so we've got, yeah, let's use Little Buddy again. White, teeny tiny amount of the black. We're going to make a really light, soft gray. Firm pressure now. We want to make sure we have a nice thin line edge. All right, and then I can just make real thin little vertical lines, just like a little sketch here. A little bit there. All right, so just a hint of shiplap. So pretty. All right, so there we go. We've got all kinds of fabulous patterns. I'm looking back at my model going, I had hearts on the other one. Let's do a few little hearts because after all, these are lovebirds. I probably won't do as many. I kind of got crazy on my first one with hearts. All right, so I need to load up with a little bit more of that really beautiful magenta. All right, so primary magenta, put that down. And then I want to make sure I've got some white nearby. A little bit of white, push that in. All right, nice mix on that. Okay, so let's do a few little hearts. So I'll go up, little hill, and I said earlier I really like it to be a little bit more asymmetrical. So then I'll fill that in. You could just stop right there if you wanted to. But I'll do one more. Yay! All right, sweet. All right, now let's talk about lettering. So lettering is an option. You don't have to do it, but a lot of people do enjoy doing it. All right, so I do encourage you to always make sure you have this dry. Use your pencil first to map it out. That way you know that it fits into the space and that you're not going to run out of room. Also kind of helps you check your spelling and all that good stuff. the other thing you can do if you're very type A, you can also use a ruler on a dry canvas. So you could position it like about here, and you could make a little light line all the way across. Just kind of helps you know it's going to be very straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill this in here. So I'm going to go ahead and write the word love. Alright, so good deal. So here's what I figured out by working this out with pencil first. Definitely fits. I like the positioning of it. I spelled it right. So now I can confidently either use Sharpie over the top or I can use my paintbrush and paint over the top. So I am going to use my paintbrush and a little bit of black. If you are using, well, I always say, I don't know why I say this. If you're working at home, and you are, I don't know why I say that, then you want to position it in a flat position on your kitchen table if you're going to add water. And water will help sometimes when you're doing really fine details because you can really thin out the paint and get a much finer detail. But you never want to do that if your canvas is in a vertical position or it can do a water run. So I do make sure that my brush there's no excess water in my brush. I'm very careful with that. And then I do a quick little twist here into the paint. And then I will go ahead and follow along. Just writing the word love here. And that's my honey bear. I don't know what he's doing. He's dropping everything. That's okay. They like it when you come in.
Do they?
They do. They love it when you make noises and sneeze and drop stuff. It's fun. All right. So I had a little bit of an issue with that string that's holding up the birdhouse. And I wasn't really liking how it interrupted my V. So I did just go ahead and connect that to that one side. I lucked out a lot because that line could have been going right through the middle where I couldn't have done that. So that's something else. I should have actually been paying more attention to that with the pencil. So I should have worked that out with my pencil ahead of time and placed it better to where that wouldn't have interrupted it so much. But I salvaged it. It worked out. It's okay. But so that's another just good example of how it really helps to work it out with pencil first, make sure you're happy, and then you can follow up with your paint and your little bit brush over the top. All right, so now we can do our beautiful signature. Okay, so I've got my same little bit brush here, and then I'm just going to sign Tipsy. I may not sign, well, we'll see. We'll see how fast. Sometimes I'm really slow. We'll go ahead and sign the whole thing, I guess. Ta-da! Okay, sweet. All right, so we are done with our beautiful birdhouses. They're so cute. All right, let me show you all the steps. Just to kind of a recap, you can get all the supplies you need on our website, tipsyartist.com. And here is a look. I don't know that I have them all with me right now, but I've got quite a few. So I've got cute little birdhouses, and they're all kinds of fun shapes and sizes. Okay, and here's your little lovebird. All right, and then of course it comes with your paintbrushes and your paint and then your canvas, and you've got everything that you need. And we're also bringing some homeschool curriculum too. So be on the lookout for that. It's actually just called Homeschool on the front of our website there. So just look for that too. So we'll be adding some really fun curriculum to all the paintings to make it really fun and easy at home. So that's good for your child or your child at heart if you still feel inquisitive and want to learn and have fun. Let's just have fun and learn together. So it'll be awesome. All right, so there we go. There is our beautiful painting, birdhouses, yay! And I will see you again tomorrow, because today's Tuesday. Is today Tuesday? Is today Tuesday or Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday, baby.
Today's Wednesday.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hang on.
But anyway, I'm painting something.
Wednesday today.
Okay. So I don't know what I'm painting. Something. I'm painting something beautiful. I am painting every day this week. I know that I think I'm painting some fireflies and a mason jar. I know I'm doing that Saturday. What am I painting? Anyway, y'all look it up. Here's how you look it up. And I'm going to go look it up after this. But I have an events page on my Facebook page, and then I have an events page on my website, so you can see it all there. But I will see y'all tomorrow at noon, and we'll do something fabulous. I don't even know, but we'll do something amazing. So, all right, so y'all have a beautiful rest of the day. See you soon. Thank you. Bye, Larry. See you tomorrow.